grants on Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nowadays, most of the honorable members are reading the speeches on the text of the speeches. Actually, that is not the convention of this House. I request all the members kindly try to avoid reading the speeches because the entire convention is the convention of the House is entirely different. As next speaker, Sri Pinaki Misra ji.
I think the difficulty, Mr. Chairman, is that there are so many facts and figures in
definitely we have to look at
in this ministry.
Plain read. I am talking of the plain reading of the entire reading.
True. There, of course. I stand, Honourable Chairperson, sir, to support the demand for grants for the Ministry of Commerce and the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. But I must at the outset convey my disappointment, as have my colleagues, and since the Honourable Minister is here, I am sure she is equally disappointed that from the projected requirement of 7,369 crores, only an amount of 6,073 crores has been granted, which is a massive shortfall of 1,296 crores. I have no doubt that the ministry would be disappointed, particularly because if you see the figures from 1617 to 1920, which is the pre-pandemic period, they have actually percentage of actual expenditure to budget allocation has been excess of what was granted. So therefore, this is a ministry which is a flagship ministry which continues to avail of everything that is given to it, and then to have a shortfall speaks somewhat poorly for the kind of importance that should be accorded to a ministry of this nature. As a result of this, I think what has happened, the lowering of the budgetary support is gone across the board, all around. My colleagues have already mentioned this. And while the government is attempting to promote exports, however, the allocated amounts have been decreased for very crucial heads like marine products exports, which is a very important export growth potential for a state like Odisha, where we have massive potential for marine product export, as well as the tea export, which is again, there's been a slump in the tea export, which again is one of India's significant flagship export items. The other source of disappointment, I think, is the fact that exports have actually declined in 2021 by around 28.65 billion. This, I think, has been noted all around, even by economists as well as by sundry observers, that the export to import quotient has been significantly down this year. The happy thing is that agricultural exports are rising. That's something which is for a country which is so largely dependent on agriculture, and where our farmers play such a significant role in the economy of our country. It's like a sunshine sector in this country, really. Apart from the services sector, the farming sector, the agriculture sector is a sunshine sector. So therefore, the increase in exports, in agricultural exports, which has seen a rise of around 24% almost between April and November 2020, is a very happy augury. But at the same time, there's been a slump in exports in other crucial sectors like iron ore, which affects states like Odisha, Jharkhand, as my friend Dubeji will vouchsafe. The pharmaceutical export has, of course, increased. That's something, again, which is turning out to be a very important export sector of India, very important, another sunshine sector for India. The Prime Minister has been right in congratulating Indian industry for the manner in which we've come up with our domestic vaccines during this period. And we've actually managed to carve out a niche for ourselves worldwide in the vaccine industry under the leadership of the Prime Minister. Without doubt, he has personally focused on it. And therefore, this certainly marks a significant growth sector in this country. Mr. Chairman, sir, I think the ministry will do well to ensure that this WTO compliant scheme of remission of duties and taxes on exported products is increased to the sectors of pharmaceutical, organic and inorganic chemicals, and iron and steel, so that we retain our price competitiveness in global markets, particularly because of the kind of stiff competition that countries like China with their price competitiveness give India. So therefore, this is a very good scheme, and this scheme should be more aggressively expanded, I believe, in India. One of the Disappointments, I know some speakers from the Treasury benches have actually remarked on how the ease of doing business has, our index has improved. Has it improved sufficiently? Are you still in touch sufficiently at the cutting edge level, at the grassroots level with industry and industrialists to find out from them, ascertain from them that are they finding it easier to do business in India? This is something that's a very seminal question. I'm a counsel who appears day in, day out for industry, Honorable Chairperson, and I, day in, day out, have to hear the lament of how, while on paper, India's rating may have gone up, in actual terms at the cutting edge level, there are still many pinpricks and creases which need to be sorted out. Industry is still not finding that level of ease of doing business, which again is, I think, one of the Prime Minister's dreams. And I'm not saying that he doesn't mean well, because I think he has been coming from a state like Gujarat, which is a pioneer in India in doing business. I know that he has that sufficient experience and background, having seen his own state for so long, doing so well in business and industry, that he would want to promote this in the rest of India. But it's a very difficult bureaucracy to handle in this country. It's I think, a quagmire which all of us recognize is very difficult to navigate. And therefore, while the intent at the top level may be good, is it sufficiently aggressive to cut through the labyrinth of red tape in India, which has always beset us for the last 60, 70 years? Because I think, particularly, Mr. Chairman, the Treasury benches will be aware of the fact that the kind of hope we had after COVID, that China was dropping in its attractiveness as a destination for industry, and therefore India would automatically become a magnet. That hasn't happened to the extent that one would have liked it to happen. We thought there will be a deluge in this country. There has certainly been no deluge. There has been a trickle, but I think that could have easily, I think we perhaps did miss a trick or two in this period, because what should have been a deluge has only remained, I say again, a trickle. Therefore, let's hope that the next time this opportunity comes to us, we don't miss the bus a second time around. The other thing, Mr. Chairman, is I've already said about how in foreign trade our exports have slumped. One of the reasons why our exports have slumped, and I think the Honourable Minister again is from UP, one of the really encouraging sectors in this country, and one of the pride sectors, I think, was this footwear and leather and accessories development sector. That's UP, your Kanpur, your Agra. These had become very important hubs of the leather industry. Now that this whole, I call it the cyclical, 5-year cyclical problem of elections in UP, which there is so much politics involved there that everything else takes a backseat. But now that that is over and well settled for the next 5 years, I would certainly expect that the kind of major slump that has happened in UP in the footwear and the leather industry, that is taken care of now. It comes back again to becoming one of the pillars of our domestic market as well as our export market, as it had become over the past 2 decades or so. And it was a matter of great pride when we were using Indian products which were at par with leather products anywhere in the world. Now, on a personal scale, I can tell you that where we used to source our shoes and sandals in India, they are now having to import leather. And as a result of which, there is a waiting period of almost 6 to 8 months now if you place an order with a prominent shoe manufacturing company in Bombay, for instance. They say that we are not getting leather because the leather has to come from Italy. What used to earlier come from Kanpur and Agra has now to come from Italy or to come from Spain. Furniture manufacturers similarly. So therefore, there is an acute shortage of this. So therefore, I think this is something that can be very easily taken care of. It is a wonderful sector. It has needlessly gone to seed because of our domestic politics. Now that politics is over, let us ensure that business comes back to center stage again. One of the worrisome aspects that the Standing Committee has noted is that there is a major concentration of SEZ activities only in certain developed states in India. The potential for this to be more widespread, to be more far-flung is very good. It's there. That's not happening, number one. Therefore, that's a lopsided development in this country, which again the Prime Minister has taken note of in the past, that perhaps the west of this country has a much faster and accelerated state of gold growth than the east, and there should be parity in there. That hasn't happened. Number two, what is also worrisome, Mr. Chairman, is that there are merely 268 SEZs functioning in the country today, when a total number of 358 have been notified, which means only 2/3 are functioning, 1/3 are completely atrophied. What is the reason for this? Because significant investment has gone in this sector. So therefore, this is something again which should be looked at. I know Mr. Chairman is looking at me. I will just take a minute more, that's all. There has been, I think the Standing Committee has recommended that an institutional post of a chief economist in the Commerce Ministry as an independent body of the Ministry of Commerce would be a salutary position which should be looked at. Perhaps it could help if the Honourable Minister would have a look at this. In the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, the only thing that I can, again, there is a minor shortfall there, but what is a little disappointing here is the number of patents filed and granted in India is still minuscule compared to the US and China. Now that doesn't augur well for our innovative capacity. I don't even need to start reading out the number of Indians, which is I think more than 25 Indians run the top 25 companies all over the world. So therefore, including the US. So therefore, there is no reason why our number of patents should be so limited and so pitifully few compared to the patents filed abroad. Lastly, I believe that this National Investment and Manufacturing Zone concept is a very good concept again. There's been one which has started in Kalinganagar, which has been given final approval by the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. The only difficulty is that once that has been done, and this is a 163 square kilometer one, which envisages creation of 3.5 lakh employment. That's a massive employment figure, and with an investment potential of almost 100,000 crores at one go in the first phase, and then spiral up to 250 to 300,000 crores. So this will substantially enhance the financial and social status of that eastern zone. Ms. Sarangi is here, and she's been one of our brightest bureaucrats in the state, and she will obviously feel very happy that this is something that is being aggressively pursued, because we do this, I think, between the BJP MPs and us on a bipartisan basis in this House. But I think Government of India, lastly, Mr. Chairman, ought to take a view on this, that for creation of external infrastructure for these kind of projects which have been approved by the Department of Promotion of Industrial and Internal Trade, that the Government of India, once the final approval has happened, some external infrastructure must take place at the hand of the Government of India, number one. And number two, environment clearance, which has become a very big, it's a salutary provision in our environmental laws. Of course, we need it, but it has become a major roadblock in many areas. Yes. So therefore, environmental clearance ought to be taken as a simpler process with a kind of a single window, green channel kind of way, so that this process is accelerated. With these words, Mr. Chairman, I thank you once again for having given me the opportunity to support this Department of Commerce and Industry budget proposals. I wish the Ministry all luck going forward in this year, now that we are going to hopefully be a COVID-free year, that our Ministry should blossom into one of the really flagship ministries of the government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sri Karthi Chidambaram.